This episode of Nintendo Pow Block is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on Boss Rush Games. Hello all my elite block agents. I can't believe I haven't said it in a long time and I got it wrong.
Shocker.
Everybody, this is going to be a mini block. I got my boss man right here, the one, the only, Mr. Corey Derrick. Hello, good sir. Hello, bro.
Hello. It's been an interesting week in video games, we'll have to say. I feel like the FTC hearing of Xbox versus PlayStation has been way more compelling than anything shown during the summer stuff.
I know, dude. I thought we were on a high with last week's Nintendo Direct. Like, I thought like Nintendo killed it, and then this happened, and
So funny.
The things that came out, I will say, thank you to the Microsoft versus FTC court battle. Nintendo has news, because we got dragged into something that we didn't expect, and we're going to give our opinions about it, and we're going to be actually talking about also the possibility of Nintendo's next gen system.
Yeah, it's been a lot of CEOs are leaking or talking about the next Nintendo's successor to the Switch, which is very exciting, and not in like great detail, right? But like, they kind of mentioned during this hearing that the next Nintendo console would be, maybe as powerful or a little bit more powerful than a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, which is also concerning as a Nintendo fan.
And that's where the alleged part comes from what I said.
But that'd be cool though, because we'll finally get the Zelda that looks like Horizon, and that'll be.
And I think when I was texting you when we was talking, I was just like, even if it gets to the level of a Xbox One X, I would literally be fine with that. And I was telling Josh Martinez on Jump Off Point, I was just like, even if Nintendo was able to get 1440p and some games,
I don't need 1440p though. I need 1080p. That's all I need. I don't need 1440p. Here's what I need. Ed, I need 60 frames a second. It can be 1080p. It can be 900p. I don't care. Get that frame rate up. Get those graphics up. I want a Zelda that looks like Horizon. Give it to me. And we're going to be able to do that now. Okay?
Yeah.
We're not running on old Xbox 360 phone hardware. Okay? No. Come on.
Hold on. Would you just shade you by saying 360 phone hardware?
That's what I said. Okay. Okay. We're not running on an N-Gage here. Okay.
Ooh, goodness.
Windows phone.
Child. Literally, Corey, I was thinking about how he called the episode. I just want to tell him name the episode Child. Just like a baby Mario or something. Because this, good googly moogly. Let's get into the next gen Nintendo since we're already there before we get into everything else. Because I think with the 1440p benefiting Nintendo themselves, outside of indies and third parties and stuff. Yes, I do want the 60 frames per second. And I think because of Nintendo's art style that they choose to do stuff in, I think the details that they give would actually fit a 1440p.
I think here's the thing. I think people confuse resolution with like texture density and texture packages and stuff, because you can have the prettiest 4K game, but it could be all polygons and stuff. But then you get a game, like Horizon that upscales to 1080p on a PlayStation 4, right? Like that's and even Horizon Forbidden West, it doesn't run at full 4K, but like it's the texture density, it's the textures on the characters. It's the way that they're distributed. It's the, it's just, to me, it's not all about resolution. It's about the textures that they are able to apply to the characters and the environments and stuff that make it really stand out. And so that's what I want to see from Nintendo. I want to see Nintendo take the next step, right? Like, they've already done it in gameplay design countless times. I want to see that graphical upgrade for Nintendo. I want to see, and I'm not talking Mario and Kirby and stuff, right? I'm talking I'm talking Zelda. I'm talking Metroid. I'm talking Star Fox. Give me that Ratchet and Clank 4K fur on Star Fox, right? Like, give me one of those, right? It's just,
and I think with the new younger teams at Nintendo, I believe they can deliver that because like they've been playing other people's games and stuff. And I think with the more power that they have and everything, I literally feel like they can go into that direction of producing textures and graphics that's like very realistic while still having that Nintendo feel and everything. So that's why I said like 1440p would be good. If they want to do the up to 1440p or have it at 1080, great. But also, like, yeah, give us that 60 frames per second if needed. Nintendo knows how to do 60 frames per second. They can't act like they can't do it.
I mean, all their games pretty much do except for Zelda, right? I mean, I can't really think of any other Nintendo games that really, I mean, I guess if you're looking at something like Bayonetta or Astral Chain, but that's not really Nintendo proper. That's Platinum. Like, those games run at 30, but Mario Kart runs at 60. Odyssey, I think, runs at 60. Splatoon runs at 60. Kirby and Yoshi run at 60. So, and Xenoblade, I guess, would be the other one that runs at 30, right? So,
Xenoblade, yeah.
I'm not.
That would be so good with at 60.
I mean, imagine like a new Xenoblade game or whatever Monolith works on next, and like it was just like a little bit more power of like the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Oh my god.
Yeah, and because how big those worlds are and the way they do the draw distance, it's just having the animals and all of that moving around. Dude, I probably would like literally pass out. Like you have to find another co-host or something or another host. While my spirit just twirling the world before it comes back into my body.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think it's pretty interesting. I also and I'm not just talking about what Bobby Kotick said during the FTC hearing with Microsoft, right? Like, Yves Guillemot. I don't know what just happened. It's fine. I'm going to survive. But Ubisoft CEO came out and was talking about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope and how it didn't sell as well as the first one, and how Nintendo advised him to wait a year or two to release it on the next console, which means that console is coming within the next year and a half, which puts it at around March 2025, which is exactly what I said it was. Might
at 25.
Yeah. I think they want to get 2 more holidays out of this console. I think they want to, it also came out that they're using the Nintendo account on the next console, so you'll be able to move your account over safely and easily, I guess.
We're going to have a good discussion about that.
You know what that tells me, though, architecturally at least? It tells me 2 things. One, it tells me that at least architecturally, it's going to be very similar, right? So that stuff's going to be able to move over easily. And like the online infrastructure is similar, which, for better or for worse, right? I mean, it's a Nintendo Online. But so many people are subscribing to Nintendo Switch Online and Expansion Pack, and how many people have gone all digital on the Switch because it's convenient. Like,
yeah,
this seems to be answering the questions, with more certainty of backwards compatibility, online functionality, the expansion pack stuff. Like, I think this is finally the time Nintendo gets it right. Right? I mean, I think here's the thing though. If there's if there's no backwards compatibility on this new system, people are going to riot.
Oh yeah.
So,
but when we were talking earlier, even when we did the expansion pass, you were just like, Nintendo is going into a more conservative route, like trying to keep up with the times and everything. Yeah, they're still kind of late with some things, but when they get there, it's enjoyable. I play my Switch with my Bluetooth headphones. I know people think that, well, Nintendo's late. I'm like, I'm fine with that. You know, if they're going to be doing this transfer system with their next console, it can't be the 3DS debacle at all. You know, from 3DS to new 3DS, it cannot be that. It's got to be something.
What do you mean? What happened with that? What do you mean?
Because it took so long, the way that it was being done, and it was just like too many steps. So I could understand. It may be the same way as you transfer from your old Switch to the new Switch, but if they're making it easier where it could recognize and then be like, oh, okay, we see all your data from the cloud and all your digital games. Bam. If it takes about, I would say, give it an hour. I'm going to go with an hour because you might have a lot of games on it if you go on all digital. You know, your first, your third, and your end. So it may take an hour. But if it's just like, yeah, it's going to take an hour. While it's doing this, you can still play your games. You know, or at that physical version of the game, you can pop it in and play it. It may not recognize your data because it's transferring, but you can play it. You know, so I think they probably are researching ways to get it. Another thing is definitely with the chips and everything. If they're going for a more powerful system, depending on which system they decide to go on or get a custom made, they know they want that chip to be cheap. So if they're planning on releasing a 25, 26 or whatever, by that time, that processing chip is going to be cheap. So they could
the custom Tegra X2, which is what it's rumored to be running on, is actually already pretty cheap. It's already out of date. So I don't know, but also like Nvidia's come out with some pretty interesting technology recently where like if they implement that into the Switch, which I don't know if they will or not, but like DLSS and upscaling and, you know, AI kind of upscaling where they could achieve 4K without actually having to process that 4K.
Yeah.
You know, using AI to get those extra frames in there. It would be pretty interesting. And like also talking about Microsoft and, you know, streaming stuff, like Nvidia could be maybe making a deal with Nintendo to incorporate GeForce Now, which would let you stream PC games to this thing, which, you know, not a native solution for third-party games, but an interesting one to think about, right? Not now, Nintendo would probably never ever do that, but like it's an interesting thing to think about where like, oh, well, obviously the Rogue Ally is really popular and the Steam Deck are really popular. Sony's coming out with their dumb streaming tablet. Like, dude, that thing looks so stupid. And it's $300. $300 for that thing. This is like, oh my gosh, it's so stupid. But like, it's really interesting to think about Nintendo partnering with Nvidia for more reasons than just having their chip inside of it. Right. And I really like thinking about that.
Well, I think if they, because that I would say, I'm fine if Nintendo gives us a $400 console. And the reason why I'm saying, is because of everything that you are talking about, and you know, that's the possibility that could be in that system. Because I definitely Nintendo. I definitely want Nintendo to talk to Microsoft. Definitely get Game Pass on that mug, because I think
I still think something like the Master Chief Collection is coming to Switch at some point. And I know people will call me crazy, but like I've heard multiple Xbox podcasts, prominent Xbox podcasts, say that they are, because remember that rumor, like right when it came out, like a year after, there was a rumor they were going to put the Master Chief Collection on PS4, and Sony said no, we don't want it. Right? Like that's crazy to think about Halo on a different console.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's definitely and we'll get to that when we get into the story, but with Microsoft versus the FTC, I think Nintendo will allow it because not only will I think there'll be a split in money and stuff, or I
Well,
don't
I
know,
mean, at
will
that
change.
point, I think at that point, Microsoft would just act as a third party, right? And do
Yeah.
what they do with Minecraft. And like, you'll have to sign into your Xbox Live account to access online functionality, but like,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be cross play and cross save or whatever. Uh, I know we're kind of getting into some theoretical territory, but I don't think it's that out of the question, especially with what they've been saying at the FTC hearing. Like Satya Nadella said that he doesn't want to live in a world with exclusive games where like you can just buy the box you prefer and then play all games all the time, and like
Mm-hmm.
I know realistically, like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, but it also sounds like a terrible idea. If it's not like a Blu-ray, right? Where like you buy, oh, I have a Sony TV, so like maybe the Sony Blu-ray player will go better with my Sony TV, right? It's like,
Right.
no, I think the consoles need their exclusives. I think exclusives are a big part of why you choose a console in the first place.
And and
Uh,
and and to clear that confusion up is that third party and first party exclusives are two separate things.
oh yeah,
People
no,
are
I
don't
know.
and then people throw exclusive around like
I mean,
it
Final
like
Fantasy is a third party exclusive, right? So
right. And I think that's what is the confusing thing. It's just like, well, I don't want exclusive. Well, are you saying that you don't want your first party on your console and you want it everywhere,
yeah, that's
even on
exactly
your
what he said.
competitors?
That's exactly what he said. He wants. It almost sounds like he wants Xbox Game Studios games to be go the route of Sega almost, which is like it's kind of strange how their trajectories are similar and at this point, but like
Mm-hmm.
also I want Xbox to survive because I've invested so much money and time into my Xbox. Like I don't ever want that console to go away, and I will
Mm-hmm.
always buy an
Yeah.
Xbox as long as there is one, right? But like I
I won't
also
get a
think
360, but everything else above that,
yeah,
I will.
I also think Xbox will do what makes sense for them. I think something like Activision Blizzard will act independent of Xbox game studios, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda kind of does, but they also said today that they're making all Bethesda games exclusive to the console. But I think the types of games that Activision Blizzard makes, especially their big ones like Diablo and Call of Duty, obviously, and Overwatch, are too big of a. I mean, they said as much during the FTC hearing, right? Like to offset Call of Duty alone, they would need over 2 million new Game Pass subscribers to
Over
offset
the
the
next two
cost.
years.
Yeah, yeah, to offset the cost,
Like,
and that's something I don't think they want to risk because not that like Game Pass is a great deal, but not everybody wants Game Pass, right? I mean,
right.
people want to own their games and people want to go to the store and buy a box off the shelf, right? And that was the big kind of thing with Starfield this week, where like the rumor was there wasn't going to be a disc in the box, but now there is. But I think it's still just going to be the license, and you're going to still have to download the game. But uh,
Yeah, that's what they said. There's gonna be like a digital code in it,
mhm,
and I'm just like,
yeah,
and not and I got to the point where yeah, with Redfall having a disc in it, yeah, that's kind of like my last thing with Bethesda for physical. I'm like, it's making sense that I might as well just buy the
hmm
digital version because if y'all not really gonna put any physical in,
hmm
I'd rather just get the digital because that's
yeah,
what like Alan Wake 2 and
hmm
stuff. Even though that's kind of off topic, like at least remedy whatever
there's
reason that they gave and
there's going to
stuff.
be the physical disc, right? Like a lot of people during the pandemic moved to digital, right? I think it moved to digital
Mm-hmm.
a lot faster than people anticipated because before the pandemic, it was what, like something around 30% of people have moved to the digital ecosystem primarily. Whereas after the pandemic, it's like 72% have moved that way. And Xbox is even more because Game Pass has allowed them to kind of, get a head start on the digital ecosystem, right? And they run a lot of great deals, and you get stuff like Redfall or Halo even, right? That the whole game wasn't even on the disc. And I just think the way that games work now, especially multiplayer games or live service games or games that need updated, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to have it on the disc anymore. Like single player games, sure, right? Like something like The Witcher or something along those lines would totally make sense to yes, disc, sure, why not? Persona, Sonic, stuff like that, right? But like these experiences that you need multiplayer, Halo, Gears, Call of Duty, Redfall, even something as big as and ambitious as Starfield, right? You can't fit that all on a disc, right? That game is massive. You really want to try to fit that on a disc or two?
It's not so much as what is on the disc space wise. I think it's just that once again that collective spirit, and everything. But like
and I
with
get
Xbox, yeah, and with Xbox, when you start like when I go to Best Buy and I see like having their shelves are empty in Best Buy, I mean, for Xbox and even with Target and stuff, it's just like it's getting to the point where if I'm seeing less physical, yes, you are moving me to digital and everything, but I still got to do the long wait time. I don't get like perks and stuff if you have a retail version that has like some exclusive items or even like a keychain or something like that, saying that thank you for pre-ordering at our store, giving us your business. Yeah, and everything. And as much as once again, Game Pass is connected to the internet. If your internet goes down or something messed up with your phone, you can't play it. So I
well,
understand that.
that's not 100% true. You can I think you have 24 hours to connect back to the internet with Game Pass games. It used to not be that way, but I think they fixed it because there's a lot of people who disconnect, especially people who travel with the Series S and are like, have that up screen, which I still really want, or like a ROG Ally, right? Like that. Granted, there are games that require online connection all the time, like Destiny and Diablo and Redfall, but like I think for the most part, a lot of the single player stuff on Game Pass still works within 24 hours. So I don't know if they really changed that or not. That's what I thought. So, but like going back to Nintendo's next gen, right? Like, just talking about like the way that Xbox will put games where they make sense. I mean, it came out that Minecraft was 4 times bigger on Switch than PlayStation and Xbox combined.
That was one of my stories that I had.
The only platform that it's bigger on is PC and mobile, right? And I mean, everybody has a phone in their pocket.
And I can understand PC being the biggest because that's where it first started at. So it had a start.
And there's a big mod community for Minecraft, and there's a big like custom server community for Minecraft on PC. So like, yeah, Minecraft on PC is humongous. Plus, like that doesn't even count the people who are playing it on Game Pass either, right? So
right, and the Nintendo versions have the exclusive stuff that you can't get nowhere else, which is the Nintendo first party with Mario and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think moving back to next gen Nintendo, I really think this could be Nintendo's like real attempt, or they could attempt to like really bring their franchises to the next level. Like, okay, yeah, we made the jump from HD. We have a console that everybody loves in the Switch, right? And for the most part, everything works, everything runs well and great. But like, I'm still coming back to like, I'm telling you, man, I think about that Wii U tech demo of Zelda all the time. The Twilight Princess-esque one.
The possibility with power that they could pull off with that.
Yes, and like the ability to have like not ray tracing, but like a real time lighting systems and awesome graphics like that, and just being able to like have reflections and cool kind of larger than life architecture of the temples and stuff. Like, I think about that constantly. Like, no joke.
And I think there is a possibility that they could revisit that and incorporate it into the next Zelda game. I mean, of course they're
it's not
gonna have to
it's
have
not
Breath of
just
the Wild
Zelda.
openness.
It's not just Zelda though. I mean, like you could make you could do like a 3D Metroid game of like really significant size doing something like that, because it could almost be like Death Stranding almost, where like you're super isolated, but every like that isolation allows for you to have stronger texture work. Not very like maybe one or two enemies on the screen at the same time, but they're like bigger enemies or scarier enemies, right? Like there's a lot you could do with just that. I mean, you think about it, but you think about it, the Xbox One and the PS4 are 8 times more powerful than the Xbox 360. 8 times. And then if you go to like the Xbox One X, it's like 10 or 12 times more powerful than the Xbox 360. Think about how much power that is for something that like, no, just hold on. Let me finish real quick. The way that Nintendo works, that amount of power, think about what Nintendo could use with that amount of power, because they work so much more efficiently than every other company.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can make these massive Mario worlds. You can make these awesome Star Fox like ship battles with like almost like Rogue Squadron-esque massive space battles, or like I don't know, man. Just there's a lot you could do with just that amount of power.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
heck,
I think
you look at Sony, like they made Horizon on that thing, right? Like Horizon is a large game. Look how beautiful it looks.
Yes.
You know?
But I think you got to think about that. Everything that you're wanting and saying does not reflect the same thing in Japan. I'm excluding Square Enix from this because Square Enix, yes, Square Enix,
dude. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is the most AAA video game I've ever seen.
Oh, I know. That's why I said excluding them before you was going to attack me. But I'm thinking if Nintendo is in that, yes, you could give us that power. If this young teens can create that and everything, give it to us. But the thing about it is, it's just like I know Nintendo. I don't really know Nintendo, but I feel like even with power, it's always going to be about the gameplay mechanics, the ideas, the innovation, what they could bring. If the power could do it, yes. The visualization, if it could capture us visually, like if we could go crazy, yes. If they want to do it for Metroid, are you doing it for 6 or are you doing it for Prime? I expect the next Mario 3D game to be breathtaking and look. I'm not worried about the gameplay. If y'all got even to the power of a series, not the Series X, Xbox One X, y'all better go in and make a very detailed world. Even if it's cartoony, I want to see some high level art.
Well, just think of like if they mixed like a little bit of like, I mean, I think Bowser's Fury is kind of the direction I think they're probably aiming to go, right?
Yes.
And I mean, just imagine like Bowser's Fury mixed with like a little bit of the world that Breath of the Wild introduced. Like, oh, this warp pipe, where does this warp pipe go? And we go underground and we go explore this, have this super challenging platforming level, but at the end you get like a really cool power up or something to go fight the boss, maybe this is a secret way out of the dungeon and you find a ghost house or some kind of cave, or you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of possibilities you could do with an open world Mario game too. And like my first thought was like actually like the first Jack and Daxter game did a really great job of this kind of seamless island open world. And that was on PlayStation 2. So like imagine what you could do with the power of a PS4 and Xbox One and all the things you could add to it. I mean, Nintendo did it on the Wii U and the Switch, right? Which is like maybe a little bit more powerful than an Xbox 360. Maybe. Still to be determined sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. They got some pretty interesting games to run on that thing. But still, like, if you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushMedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. I don't know, man. I get so excited for the potential of what Nintendo could do with a more powerful system, even if it's not Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 power, like just more power, any more power. And
because I think the power thing to me, when I think about Nintendo, it's just like, man, I know here in America we want power, but is that the same thing in Japan?
Yes.
And Nintendo of Japan is going to think more of their country before they think of everybody else. Everybody else is business.
Well, that's why the thing is going to be a handheld, right? But they look. I mean, even look at something like Pokemon. How much a little bit more power?
Oh heck yeah!
I mean, like even the games that like don't run well on the Switch, right? Imagine what a little bit more power and a little bit more just things you could utilize to make those games run better, because they don't, granted, Game Freak and Pokemon Company don't know how to optimize their games as well as Nintendo does for the console, right? But like,
yes,
just that little bit more power could have given those games a little bit more juice and made them run better. And like, granted, I know probably 13 out of the 15 million people who bought those games don't care, right? But like, there's still 2 million people out there that do care, and
yeah.
I think you got to service your hardcore fans first, right? I mean, because they're going to be the early adopters. They're going to spread it word of mouth or tweet about it, or, join their Facebook groups and talk about it, right? Like you got to service your hardcore fans first and give them something to marvel at when these games come out. And that's why I still think that Donkey Kong game is coming, and I think it's going to be a launch title. Although I actually think it's probably going to be the 3D Mario game. But
that I could agree with. Like if we're gonna jump off the next gen Nintendo stuff with a launch lineup, I would go with Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
because Nintendo's going to be, for right now, Nintendo platform gaming wise, is going to be thinking about the next Princess Peach game. And I mean, I would have said Luigi's Dark Moon, but that's more for like an HD remaster or stuff. But they're going to be finished. They're going to be fixated on Princess Peach. When Princess Peach comes in, I think that's it for the Mario games until we get something for their next gen system. Because I'm cool if you release a Mario game later. If you want to open up the next gen game with a 3D looking platformer of Donkey Kong and it looks bonkers visually, oh heck yeah. Give me that water. Give me that Hawaiian island look and go all in. Give me that crispness that I want to see, them palm trees and stuff, even with the animals. Like, I really want to see Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong completely animated in this mud.
Yeah, I wonder if that Donkey Kong game is going to be happening. I mean, I would actually prefer it for the launch of a new console to get it in people's hands. I would actually prefer a 3D Mario launch, even though I'm not the biggest 3D Mario person. I would actually prefer 3D Mario, and then you launch Metroid Prime 4 alongside it. Maybe cross-gen, maybe not. I think you need to do it cross-gen to appease the Switch fans who have been waiting for that game. But I think maybe the Switch version runs at 30, or 900p 30 or 1080p 30, and then the new one runs at 1440p and 60 frames or whatever, something like that, right? Where similar to Breath of the Wild, where like the Wii U version ran at 720p and the Switch version ran at whatever it ran at. But then you have like a 2D Donkey Kong game to go with the 3D Mario game. I would like a third Donkey Kong retro style game, to be honest.
I could actually see Donkey Kong being the game. We was having a discussion what game could end the Switch. I now think Donkey Kong could end it.
I think Donkey Kong could end it, but I don't like. I like Donkey Kong. I don't love it as much as people do, but I like it well enough. But I don't think that's a system seller. To be honest, I don't think Donkey Kong has the same pull as Mario or Zelda does, right? Like I just don't. As important as Donkey Kong is to Nintendo's history, and as important as he is as a character, like I don't think you can launch a console with a 3D Donkey Kong game. I really don't, unless they do something like so drastic and so different, right? But I don't know how you do that with Donkey Kong,
because for some unknown reason, I feel like Super Mario Odyssey worked for Switch by being later on in the year, but I think because of Breath of the Wild being that it game when the Switch released, it gave Mario time to breathe.
Yeah.
And definitely with Mario Kart, ARMS, and Splatoon, and all of these other games coming out, it gave Mario enough time to breathe. So,
and I wonder, just to piggyback off that real quick, I wonder how Nintendo is going to supplement their new games, because they have totally almost run out of ports to give people. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, you could save a Wind Waker or Twilight Princess to supplement the new console as you get your games out. Do I want that? No, I want it now. But you could totally do that. You could, maybe sign some third-party deals. Maybe you get, Ubisoft I'm sure will have something on, that first year, because they're always somewhere where, games make money. They're first in line.
Right.
Maybe you launch it with like an Assassin's Creed or something. I don't give them Star Fox. I mean, Starlink was pretty good. That's the best Star Fox game we've gotten in 25 years. So, I think I think Nintendo is running out of things to port to, especially if you're buying digital and your Nintendo account is like, similar to an Xbox Live or PlayStation account. Like, your library is set. Like, you're not going to be able to sell those games again.
And I know we mentioned on the Expansion Pass what GameCube games we would like to see on Switch, like an HD remake, because we know that's kind of like the next thing to port and everything. Yeah. If it's going to be successful.
Only two more that I need. I mean, there's ones that I want, but there's only two more that I need, and they've already got HD. Yeah.
Twilight and Wind Waker.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my Eternal Darkness.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Rogue Squadron either, but we got Metroid Prime.
The Rogue Squadron came back. Oh, come on, man! I want Factor 5 back so bad.
Yeah, but I feel like we already got the successor to Rogue Squadron though, with Squadrons and Battlefront, right? Like, those games look so amazing already. Like, regardless of what you think of those games quality wise, like, I think Battlefront 2 was fun to play. It was just so bogged down by microtransactions at the beginning, and it just kind of had that story attached to it, right? But I think like those games look better than the movies in some places. Those games look incredible on Frostbite. And so, like, I mean, that's what Frostbite was made for though, right? Was Battlefield. And it's I don't know if Rogue Squadron would even make sense at this point.
Well, like I just said, I just want Rogue Factor 5 back as a company. I just miss them.
Yeah, but even whoever owns the name to that, right? Like, even the people that used to work there aren't there. It's going to be all new people. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's like when you talk about BioWare now, we're like, oh, I love BioWare, but like, anybody worth anything that made Mass Effect and Knights of the Republic and the first Dragon Age or whatever aren't there anymore, right? They all moved on, either just something Wicked or Obsidian or someone like that, right? And not like this new BioWare isn't bad or isn't good or anything, but like, it's not the BioWare you grew up with. And I think in some cases that's good to get new blood in there. I mean, we're seeing it with Nintendo right now, right? Where the younger teams are coming up and innovating and doing some interesting thing. I mean, look at the 2D Mario game, man. Look at Mario Wonder. That game looks incredible. The animations and like the fluidity of the game, and just like the little emotions that Mario has on his face when he runs, or like when he pulls his hat down, how it changes from New Super Mario Brothers, and like even the other characters. It's just that game like stylistically looks incredible.
And I think that's why with the new team with power can really bring it. I think what we're going to like, you want Horizon style appearance.
Not on everything. Not on everything.
Not on everything, right? But
just Zelda. Just Zelda.
Yeah.
Just Zelda and Metroid.
That might have to be like the new thing for Nintendo. I want Horizon style appearance when describing graphics.
I mean, Stephanie and I were talking about this on the Boss Rush podcast like a few weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. I don't know how long it's been at this point, but like, you just look at something like Horizon Forbidden West and Final Fantasy 16 and how incredible, like how just visually stunning those games are and how well they run, you know? And it's like, I want, like, I love Nintendo and I always will love Nintendo, but it's a shame that we've kind of had to like temper our expectations for Nintendo. And like, I love Breath of the Wild and I love Tears of the Kingdom. I think that game looks amazing. I think that art style is awesome, but I'm tired of using the excuse of this game looks incredible for this art style. And then you look at Tears of the Kingdom, and then you go and look at something like Final Fantasy 16, and they're not even on the same level production wise.
Which I could understand, but I think the difference between it is that, yeah, you got these beautiful graphics, but I gotta struggle or I gotta go through a 15-minute cutscene to enjoy those graphics more than it would.
That's what I want from Zelda. I want that in Zelda.
But do you want those graphics for cutscenes, or do you want those graphics for a full-on gameplay? Because both. I think that's see, I don't want it for both.
Well, then you suck.
No, because my thing. Because my thing is that I think I don't get no benefit out of your graphics if I'm seeing most of it on cutscenes than I am getting through your gameplay that I bought your game that I want to do. If Zelda wants to have those graphics, great.
What about?
Do not give me a 45-minute cutscene.
Okay, what about Horizon then? Because that game has cutscenes, but there's a lot of gameplay in between those cutscenes. It's some great gameplay, but I still yell at I don't yell at Horizon because of the cutscenes. The cutscenes. I just yell at Aloy for almost saying the same thing. I'm like, we get the point. Move this thing along. So but if I'm getting complete action and less cutscenes, I do enjoy it. Now, before everybody come at me with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I understand that game has a lot of cutscenes, but I don't have to hit those cutscenes until about 55 hours in the game if I want to move on to the next chapter. Why? Because I can play out of those 55 hours a whole bunch of side quests before even getting to a story point cutscene. Especially when I have like a 15-minute battle and the music is pumping and it's all good and everything. Why are you breaking our hopes and dreams, Ed? Come on.
I'm not breaking hopes and dreams. Hold on. Don't forget, you're supposed to be the realist and I'm supposed to be the hype.
I am, and you're not hyping. You're I don't know. I just like, man, Final Fantasy 15 though, man. What a game. That's all I have to say. It is because so I'm like, I was really hyped for it right when it was announced, and I watched a couple things on it, and then I went dark. I didn't want to see anything else. I was like, okay, I'm really excited. Reviews started coming out, and they were like, it's like a 40-hour Devil May Cry game. I'm like, I don't want to play that. I can barely play Devil 16. May Cry. That's what I said. Did I say 16?
No, you said 15.
Oh, I meant 16. Sorry. Final Fantasy 16, everybody. And I'm like, I don't want to play that. I like Devil May Cry, but like that's like a nice 10-hour experience. And then if you want to go back and do the challenges and the S ranks and stuff, you're going to go do that, right? Like that's what that game's for. Not a 40-hour action RPG, right? So I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll wait for a sale. I'm not going to get it right away. Stephanie and Pat told me to download the demo, and I played the whole demo in one sitting. I was like, oh my gosh, this game's incredible. It is the most AAA game I've ever seen in my life. Like, they spared no expense on the visuals on that game, let me tell you. And the combat is fun. I have to say, though, whoever said this was a Devil May Cry game, and I get it, the director, combat director, Devil May Cry 5's combat director, does not feel like Devil May Cry. Okay? I played a lot of DMC, granted, not the same company, but does not feel like Devil May Cry.
Now, see, that's DMC Devil May Cry on Switch Deluxe with the Horizon graphics.
It's never happening. I don't. Why are you changing the subject?
Hold on. I'm not changing it. But if Microsoft, if that man want Microsoft to be some third party stuff, if you want to get some Ninja Theory stuff and you need power, oh heck yeah! Now give me that. That's what I want. If I want some power, if Microsoft said that on the next gen Nintendo system we put on Hellblade 2 and this is almost the same graphics, maybe a little changes on that system. Oh, you don't think I'm gonna end up paying another $70 for that game on Switch? Come on now, Corey. Now, if Nintendo want to match Hellblade Horizon 2 with Zelda and mix in that Wii U demo of a Zelda game, oh yeah, that's quick money. Quick money.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, no, I'm just letting you go. I'm just letting you get it out. I don't know. I
can see if power is needed. I think if power is needed for someone like Microsoft, if they brought their games to the next gen, yes. If Nintendo wants to do it, okay, go ahead and do it. But I'm like, you got to wow me. You got to, and I know Nintendo could do it. I really know that. I know Nintendo could do it. They got some talented artists, but I'm like, y'all got to go in. I just don't want your power to be used for a lot of cutscenes. And I know they don't really focus on cutscenes like that, but I just really want them to put in that work in everything.
All I'm saying, man, with that power comes great responsibility to give me a gorgeous looking Zelda game that looks like Horizon.
In other words, another 4 episodes of us talking about the next Zelda game with those graphics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The new season of Nintendo Pow Block. Corey, you just before we even start, you might just see me fall out. I might just be like, "Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block. This is Corey. I'm Eddie. Let's get into this Nintendo next gen Zelda." Corey,
dude, we're not getting a Zelda game for like 10 years. Okay, I mean,
oh heck no. that game is on the next gen Nintendo.
Dude, they use the same. They literally use the same map, animations, and character models in this game, and it still took them 6 years. What do you mean we're not? You're not. I'm just saying. We're gonna get so many ports and remakes before then, which is fine with me. I would love some. I would love some Zelda remakes at this point. Oracle games would be awesome. Mm. Getting the 3DS games and the DS games over would be kind of cool. Getting Minish Cap, I guess is on expansion pack, but still, like it's. I feel like a lot of Nintendo's library is just stuck on old consoles, and finally they're doing something with the GameCube. Thank you. Although, give me Luigi's Mansion 1. That would be like the main one for me too now, right? I mean, aside from the Zelda games and maybe like, gosh, I don't know. Maybe
you think Shadow Drop eShop?
What?
When 2 comes out? That they Shadow Drop a HD version of Luigi's Mansion, and then like a few months or weeks later, physical.
See, I don't know why they couldn't do that, because they did it with Pikmin. Like, you just shadow drop 1 and 2 and then you bundle them later. And then, like, it would make sense because then you would have all the Luigi's Mansion games on one console,
And
which would make sense.
right, and they'll re-release,
I feel like
I think, the physical version for 3.
I feel like Nintendo's in this phase of like cleaning up their old games, right? Like, I mean, especially because a lot of those GameCube games have been stuck on the GameCube for so long, right?
Yes.
So long. And I know we've talked about this a couple times on Expansion Pass already, but like, man, I mean, just think of all the GameCube games we've gotten now, right? Like Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, Pikmin 1 and 2, Bat and Kados is coming later.
Yeah.
What else have we gotten? Tales of Symphonia. I know it's not technically Nintendo, but same thing. It's like, look at all these great GameCube games that are finally making their way off that console. Man, that console is so stuck in time. And it makes me really sad to see those games stuck there because they're great. It's just like there's no easy way to hook that console up to your TV now. You have to buy, special boxes or SCART cables or, some sort of cheap, thing that you can plug your art, red, yellow, white cables into, or component cables if you have them, or you go to Eon Gaming and spend $150 on that HD converter, which works pretty good actually. But like, there's no easy way. And the fact that you can get Metroid Prime remastered for $40 instead of like having yourself a headache through all this just to play it, it's like, man, that's such a good deal. And Pikmin is $30, and man, you got Mario Sunshine and Galaxy in that one collection, although they didn't put Galaxy 2, which I'm kind of shocked they didn't. Those games got to come individually, right? At some point.
Yeah, they have to.
I mean, that would be really dumb not to, I think, at this point. Although you can get the 3D All-Stars collection on Amazon and Walmart.com for $25 right now. So remember when that game was going to be super limited? I was like,
everybody freaked out, and
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna buy a physical copy and leave it sealed, and then I'll get it digitally, and I'm gonna be the smart one, and then you could still get it. I might still buy 2 or 3 copies and put them away for later to sell them in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Pay for a vacation.
I hear that. Shoot. Well,
oh my gosh, I need a vacation so bad. I need time off of everything, man. I just want to I need like a week off of just everything. Man, like I don't know when we're gonna do that, but
we got to do it sometime next month because I'm like, a lot of folks at my job about to go on vacation. I think my store manager is about to go on vacation. I'm just like, look, y'all taking all of this time off for the summer, great, but y'all better not touch August and September. That is my time. August, September, and October. Y'all better not touch these days that I need off at all because one is I'm gonna be in city with my friend. 2, I'm going to Ohio to spend time with my bro him. And 3, I need to go see Jesse and kick it with him.
Yeah.
Like I need to get out of Illinois for a good while. And I don't need y'all to be calling me. I don't need y'all to be sending me smoke signals. If y'all mess something up in photo, you better figure out on how to fix it. I'm not answering.
Man, good times. Am I right?
Yes. My body is ready to eat those tacos, Corey. You already know.
I'm so hungry, man. I'm long story short, I went to the doctor the other day just to like follow up on some stuff that I've been working on and getting checked out and fixing and whatever. And I'm now on this like really like he gave me some like nutritional advice and like put me on this diet, and then just like I'm always hungry. Like the last like 2 days I've just been really hungry all day. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Oh, it's fine though. I need it. I need to lose some weight, man. It's been a struggle, and it's fine
You're
though.
right.
It's all good. In the hood. Yo.
Here I am. Had a chicken chipotle meal from from Chili's.
Man, Chipotle is good. I want some Chipotle. That sounds good.
Um, should we touch on the Microsoft FTC, or do you want to save it?
I mean, we can touch on it a little bit, I guess. I mean, there's not really a lot of Nintendo stuff about it, but it's still super interesting. We can talk a little bit about it, I think.
Okay, so I want to jump into um that what Bobby Kotick said about the act about Call of Duty on Switch. And I'm reading an article from Nintendo Life, and it said during day 4 of what is already proving to be a surprisingly gripping trial related to Microsoft's planned acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick took to the stand and stated his deep regret in not supporting the Nintendo Switch more over the course of its lifespan so far. As reported by Tom Warren at The Verge, and you guys check out his work because he's been on it.
Yeah, it's really good. He has like each day has its own summary, and then like there's also like the live blog he did of the entire thing, which is like 12 pages long over 4 days. He did an amazing job. He's a great reporter. I think yes. I think he's really great.
Yes. Kotick stated that I made a bad judgment in not bringing this flagship franchise Call of Duty to the Nintendo Switch, claiming that when he saw a prototype of the system, he thought Nintendo was trying to do too much and that it wouldn't be a success. Regarding the Switch, Kotick then goes on to state that it's probably the second biggest video game system of all time. If we're talking about home console specifically, then yes, Kotick is spot on. The Nintendo Switch has now sold over 125 million units, trailing behind the PlayStation 2 at over 155. If we Nintendo said if they add in the handhelds, then Nintendo DS is also ahead of 100 with 154. It's 0.2 million. And I was furious about this because I was just like, so you seen the system selling month after month, year after year. Even when the new systems came out, Switch was still selling. And you still, I mean, okay, yeah, you put some games on it, but they were a year later. Crash came late, Spiral came late, Tony Hawk came late, Diablo 3 came late, Overwatch. It's just like,
you know how hard it is to port down to a mobile device from an x86 architecture though. Like that's I'm not defending, right? I think I think these games should be there day one, but Activision is not the only one that's guilty of this. You know, I mean, as much as we praise Bethesda for putting Doom and Wolfenstein and Skyrim on the Switch, these games were all late, right? Or
yes,
you know, I mean it's. I think Tony Hawk on Switch though. By the way, ooh, great! It's awesome. It's a great handheld game. Tony Hawk, man. Oh my gosh, so good. But like, you know, I think the investment to port down, and Activision has the money to do this, and I think you have to. I think the way that Nintendo is building their consoles, and maybe when Nintendo's next console comes out, they'll think more about this. But like, I was listening to something, I forget if it was Digital Foundry or who was it? I forget who it was, but they were talking about how, you know, we're starting to see a lot of like current gen games on the Series X and PlayStation, you know, only hit 30 frames a second. Yeah. And I think when these games start development, 30 frames was the goal, right? Because I don't think a lot of people became quote unquote frame rate snobs until this generation, quite frankly, or, you know, at least late last generation. And they have to start designing the games around 60 frames a second instead of 30, and then trying to add those frames later, because it's easier to take away those frames, right, if you need to, but it's harder to add those frames, which is the problem that Final Fantasy 16 is having right now, which, like, great game, but it was designed around the 30 frames a second, which is why the 30 frames a second mode runs so well and is, doesn't drop frames. It's locked 30, so it's not going to drop frames, but when you put it in performance mode, it runs anywhere between 40 and 55 to 60 frames a second, depending on what you're doing. And that's because the game was designed around the 30 frames a second mode, and they tried to add it on later. And I'm thinking, not that it's the same type of development, but it's the same idea where, like, if you're going to make a game and you're planning on putting it on Switch, you have to maybe start planning, not with your own development team, but you have to find the team that's going to do the porting work down and start working with them throughout the process of developing the game if you want it to come out at the same time. And I think companies are starting to realize that, and I think that's kind of what Bobby Kotick was saying in general terms, were like, by the time they realized Call of Duty might have been a success on Switch, maybe not, who knows? I mean, the online for Switch sucks, so maybe it wouldn't. But, like, those games come out every year, so by the time you start porting one, the next one is already in its marketing cycle. And so, like, porting the old ones, like, we're just getting to the point now where they would actually start maybe coming out, right? So that's just my thought.
I, which is a good thought. I think my thing is that you had to. I think my thing is that you got the Nintendo Switch development kit. So what do you actually have to port? We're not at, because I feel like this. Yes, you could bring the Call of Duty franchise to the Switch, but you could make it a different game. You don't have to make it what you
but
guys are.
They're not gonna put development into a different game, right? Like, I know what you're saying, but it's Activision, and they want that game. Call of Duty is their biggest franchise, and the last time they developed a game that was specifically for a handheld console, that game was trash, right? With the Vita version, right? That Black Ops Declassified, it was bad. And so I think that probably left a sour taste in the mouth. Plus, like, they're on such that Call of Duty machine is such a well-oiled machine at churning these things out that, like, any sort of wrench in the system is just like, the Switch is not even an afterthought. Now the Blizzard side of Activision actually supported the Switch relatively well up until Diablo 4, right? Like, I think Diablo 3 was awesome on Switch.
Yes.
And they got that out kind of close to, what was it, 2018 or 2019, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's why I thought Diablo 4 was coming to Switch.
I think they originally announced it and they kind of backtracked because the project kind of switched trajectory, and then they added that always online component. Because when they announced it, it was like, what, 2018, 19-ish. And then like development halted on Diablo 4 for a long time. Not a long time, but like a long time in terms of development. And then they kind of turned it around when Rod Ferguson went over there from the Coalition, and they had a new plan and a new idea, and now it is what it is, right? So skipping the Switch probably makes sense if you have to have some sort of connected online world, right? But, like, I mean, you look at Overwatch 2 runs pretty good on the Switch, Diablo 3, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Those are all good games, and I would actually say Activision, aside from Call of Duty, is one of the best supporters for Switch, in all honesty. Like, you got all the Crash games, you got the Spyro games, you got Crash Team Racing, you got Tony Hawk, Overwatch, everything except for Call of Duty and Diablo 4 is on Switch from Activision.
But once again,
Blizzard.
Most of that stuff is late when it was announced originally. So why couldn't it
Overwatch came out before the Switch even came out, so that's not fair.
Well, that's why I said most of them, like Crash, Spyro.
Crash 4 came out at the same time.
No, it did not. Crash 4 came out
Crash
later.
4 came out at the same time. The trilogy and Crash Team Racing came out late, but Crash 4, I'm pretty sure, came out at the same time.
I think 4 came out later.
I'm going to look this up. It's my favorite thing to do on the podcast is prove you wrong.
Corey, that's why I loved you.
I know. Release date. Here we go.
Because even like Spyro, like Tony Hawk came out late in this. It always felt like a year after those other versions came out. That's when that version for Switch came out. Because I always get this idea that, and this is a personal thing, everybody, that once they finish up that like Xbox or PlayStation version, then they start doing the development for the Switch version or Nintendo version.
All right, Ed. Here we go. Okay, we're both right, a little bit. So it was originally released on October 2nd, 2020, on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but it came out on March 12th with a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X version, and the Switch version came out with those versions of the game. And PC was actually the last place it came out on March 26th, 2021. So
that would have been October, November, December, January, February, March.
6 months.
That's like about 5 months.
We were both right. I'm more right.
No, you are not.
I'm right. Shut up.
No. But I think it's just like I wish it had the day and date stuff. You know, even like even with
also like, I mean, I wonder if some of that is a Nintendo call, right? Nintendo loves to announce things for Switch because people don't expect it, right? Nintendo loves the pageantry of releasing a third-party game. Remember The Witcher was announced for Switch? Oh my gosh, people went nuts.
Yes.
When Wolfenstein was announced, we went nuts, right? Nintendo loves that stuff, right? And like, they love being able to announce that third-party game coming to Switch. They love it.
I think I think the thing is that
they like to control the narrative. They like to Nintendo likes to control the narrative. And if they can do that any way possible with third party, they're going to do it, and they love to do it.
But I think it's when it is a new announcement, and we know that your games normally don't show up in a Nintendo Direct. I would at least expect that you just have the Nintendo Switch version already in there and stuff. Look at Metal Gear Solid Collection. It got announced for Sony. Microsoft came in and was shady and threw their thing on Twitter. It came to Nintendo Switch in the Direct, and they did. And Nintendo Switch had the marketing for the breakdown. And everything, and all of them are coming out on the same day, unless the Konami delays it for Switch, knowing them. And that's the kind of thing I guess I expect if a company's going to do that, do it that route. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Because if you're gonna bring it to Nintendo Switch, I want to have. If you delayed it, I want to have some extra stuff in it.
Yeah,
you know, and that's just me. That's a personal thing, you know.
Yeah,
I love you, bro. I love you, boss.
No, you don't. Don't lie
to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the whole Call of Duty thing, I don't think that game works on Switch. To be honest, I just don't. And it's because of the online component. I mean, it's mostly because of the online component, and nobody buys Call of Duty for the campaign. Let's be honest here.
But this is the crazy thing. It's like when they did the breakdown in the court system, the highest selling version of a Call of Duty game is on mobile. So it's just like, okay,
it's called mobile? Call of Duty Mobile.
But I was expecting that I was literally expecting PC and console to be higher.
Well, Call of Duty Mobile is free to play, So it probably earns the most money because people just keep buying stuff, right? So that's, I mean, and there's 8 billion people on this planet. Probably at least half of them have some sort of smartphone in their pocket, right? So,
but if those newer versions on PC and console are selling so much, how's just that's I think that was the surprising thing to me. It's the selling versions of the Call of Duty games versus the free version of the mobile.
well, I mean, there's still a free version on console too, though, right? With Warzone, so which is like
But
their battle royale equivalent.
yes, but I think it's just like with each new campaign or like Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2 that just came out. That was, I guess, the best selling game. I don't know, whatever that number is. Um I'm assuming that because it's on PC and consoles that it sells higher. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, so even with the good sales on that, they don't compare to the mobile version because it's free. Saying that, I don't know if that same version or multiplayer from that new Call of Duty is on mobile for free.
I mean, I don't think so because they made that mobile version specifically for mobile, so
Mm.
the other versions wouldn't be on there.
So yeah, it was just a weird number reporting, like statistics to see.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really
Everything.
understand a lot of the number stuff. I'm not I can't do numbers. I try all the time to like
Mm.
think through things mathematically and looking at these things, but it's like, man, I just can't. My brain doesn't process that way, and
I'm not a
which is
I'm not an analytic.
which
An
is probably
analyst.
why like we need some sort of like financial person for Boss Rush to handle all this stuff. But uh I mean, Call of Duty's numbers, man, are way more impressive than I thought they would be, which I know Call of Duty is literally the biggest game every year, but those numbers, man, the numbers they reported for PlayStation alone, like billions of dollars, and for PlayStation alone is incredible. It's Call of Duty makes more money. Like I think they said what 15% of Sony's business is first party games, right?
Mm,
Something like that for 15% of their revenue. And Call of
yeah.
Duty by itself is like it's like almost 30%. Oh my
Well,
gosh, 30%.
and I think that's with the exclusive stuff, a lot of the marketing for that game is by Sony itself.
Well,
So
yeah, but
and and
it's
and I think now because of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 still being bigger than the Xbox One and at this point maybe the Series X and S. Um
my Series S sitting right
because
here. I love this thing.
yes. Is that I think people was going there because of the bigger install base. So, and definitely if people are still judging the Xbox from the Xbox One era
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and people just feel like from a console perspective, I'll play it on PlayStation because that's where most of
Mm-hmm.
the people are going to be playing at. Where PC is just PC. So.
It's pretty funny though, because like Xbox and PlayStation are like, it seems like they're pretty even in the United States and
Mm-hmm.
like in Canada and stuff, but like it's the worldwide appeal of PlayStation, right? That they're
Yes.
winning. Uh which is, that's always been Microsoft's Achilles heel though, right? It's like getting Japan getting Japan to buy the box, getting Europe to buy the box. That's what they've always been not bad at, but that's always been the door they've been trying to open is those two markets. And
Well, it's. I think we talked about it, Corey. That at a point in time before Xbox One and everything, just with 360 alone, that was the American system. That was the
mhm.
top tier system.
And I
And
mean, even though Xbox 360 had the mind share that generation, right? Like everybody
mhm,
everybody thought Microsoft was winning, they were leading. they still came in third place that generation, right? I mean, the Wii like outsold everything, but like the PlayStation 3 still outsold it by like 10 million units. I think people forget that, but I think the problem is that like Xbox took off so early because they had that $200 console and then the $300 console with the hard drive, and PlayStation came out at 600, that they had such a head start. Like they had a year head start first of all, and then they had such a head start because their console was half the price. And at the time, like something like Oblivion couldn't even run on the PlayStation 3. So like they had Oblivion and Gears and the promise of Halo coming up, and Call of Duty was kind of taken off at that point. Like that was all in Xbox Live was like so superior to PlayStation's online service. It wasn't even funny. So like, I think early on, that's why Xbox had such a mind share of that generation, because it was popular at the beginning, and then they messed it all up with the Xbox One launch. And it's taken this long to turn it around. And I think,
well, it was like the always being on live in the used game debacle that hurt that system.
And so I think now Microsoft is finally like in a position to not maybe challenge PlayStation a little bit. I mean, they had an amazing showcase. I think Hellblade looks awesome. I think Clockwork Revolution looks cool. Fable looks incredible. I can't wait for Fable. And like that showcase, I think they need to win the Activision Blizzard deal at this point, because if they don't, it makes them look bad. But like they could totally do this without Activision Blizzard, right? I think the big fear now is for someone like Tencent or Embracer to come in and swoop in to buy Activision Blizzard, which is like what nobody wants. I think.
Well, and the thing about it is that what is Sony gonna do? Are they gonna continue to make exclusive deals even after this? Because this court filing is changing everything between Microsoft and Sony.
See, I don't think anything is going to change. I think Sony's going to still try to acquire people. I know Microsoft said they weren't done trying to acquire studios. This one's just so.
I'm just talking about. I was just talking about the exclusive, getting exclusive deals and stuff.
I know, but I think if Microsoft continues to acquire studios, and Sony, I mean, obviously Sony doesn't, and PlayStation don't have the cash to throw around the way that Microsoft does, right? Because like, something like the amount of money Microsoft will make in a quarter will cover this deal in like 2 quarters of Microsoft's business, right? They have so much going on. But like, I don't think you can underestimate Sony's purchase of Bungie. I think they've, acquiring Nixxes and Firesprite to do like PC style stuff. Sony's made some pretty smart acquisitions, whether you think their games are good or not. I think they've made some really smart choices. And I think they're going to continue to sign deals, and I think they're going to buy Square Enix. I think the Activision Blizzard deal opens the door for Sony to go buy Square Enix. That's my thought.
But and but I'm like, is Square Enix really are they really ready to give up that Nintendo money?
Yes. I think with the amount of funding that Sony can provide them and the way they've kind of been focusing, I think, but also Square Enix could also do the deal of like, hey, we're going to run alongside PlayStation Studios as our own thing, the way that Bethesda kind of runs alongside Microsoft. And they could still put their games on Nintendo, but the part of the purchasing deal is you can't put Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest on Xbox. That would be the deal, right?
Well, they would have to wait for 12 to release. Dragon Quest 12.
That's what that's what I'm saying. But like, they could still put like whatever the next Octopath game is, or whatever the next Tokyo RPG Factory game is. Those could all go on the Switch.
And I literally think Microsoft wouldn't care because of their relationship with Sega and Atlas now.
I kind of agree with you, but also like they really do have a Square Enix problem, and I don't know what it is or how it started or why it's starting, but like they have that is like a major blow to them. I would have, a couple weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, Xbox isn't really missing anything with Square Enix, but like Final Fantasy 16 is like the best game I've played the entire year outside of Zelda, and it's like, it was the first time. It was the first time in a long time, even with God of War and Horizon coming out, and all these exclusives that Sony has already. Like, that was really the first time I was like, man, Xbox is missing an exclusive like this. Even with God of War and Horizon, I'm like, yeah, God of War, there's games on Xbox that kind of resemble God of War. There's Tomb Raider obviously resembles Uncharted. Horizon's an open world game that's amazing, but there's a lot of open world games on Xbox that you could, kind of say, okay, well, I don't have a PlayStation, but I have this open world game, right? But like, dude, Final Fantasy and 16 is literally the first time I said, man, Xbox is missing this massive exclusive.
And I think that's why, because this is the combative thing, and this might be an expansion pass one day, that if Sony went with Square purchasing wise, Microsoft was already going to make that purchase of we're getting Sega because we're getting Atlas. So guess what, Sega? After you release Yakuza, the last Yakuza game, after you release all the Persona stuff, y'all belong to us.
Yeah, but Sega already said they weren't. Sega came out today and said they weren't interested in being purchased. Like, they came out and literally said that. Although I could totally see. I think the thing Xbox is missing.
Everybody, I should say.
I mean, I think they did come out and say they have a strong relationship with Xbox, and Xbox seems to care more about Sega than any other of the big three, right? Which is pretty obvious, I think, with the game, like them going over there and getting the Game Pass deals and getting Yakuza on the platform, and Sonic kind of finding a home on Xbox. Really, like, I think they have a great partnership with Sega, but Xbox still needs that foothold in Japan. They do not have a Japanese studio outside of Tango Gameworks, and with
Mikami
gone, like, that studio could just as easily move west. And like, I mean, a white guy runs that studio now, right? So like, a white American person runs that studio, so it's really not a Japanese studio anymore, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's based in Japan, but they have a Western side, and that studio, whatever. They need to find their Japanese studio, whether it's Capcom, whether it's Bandai Namco, whether it's Konami. Like, I think they're gonna try to find someone, Koei Tecmo. I think they're gonna try to find a studio in Japan that they can purchase, and so they can get a foothold in Japan. That's my opinion.
But I think it's just that Xbox has kind of made themselves too much of an American console. That's pleasing.
But I think they're trying to get away from that, and the way you do that is have some sort of presence in Japan. Remember the rumor a couple of years ago, which turned out to be true from this FTC filing, that the rumor was they were going to buy Sega, and they were in conversations with Sega, and that so much so that, like, in the eastern part of the world, Sega was going to distribute the Xbox with a Sega logo on it, just so they could get some sort of foothold over there.
Right.
Which would have been interesting, by the way. But
I think it would have been interesting, but I'm like, Sega, what? You going back to the console releases? I'm like,
well, no, Xbox would make the hardware. They would just slap Sega's name on the box instead of.
Well, yeah, but I think it's just like the effects of the Dreamcast. Hopefully, that has passed away.
What's wrong with the Dreamcast? Dreamcast is awesome.
I mean, because Dreamcast was Sega's last console, is what I'm saying. So I hope that the effects from that, if they're going, hopefully that's not resonated with some gamers in Japan. I'm like, do gamers in Japan trust Sega to bring out another that American console from Microsoft?
Yeah,
that would be the hypothetical. and everything. And I'm not saying, oh, they shouldn't go with Nintendo because Nintendo will say no.
Yeah.
You know, and everything. Because if Nintendo will be hurt by this, of course there's going to have to be some deals made. But I'm just like,
but see,
Square
like,
Enix is.
I don't think they are though. I don't think this would affect Nintendo releases at all. Like I
I
said, I
think
think
it
they're gonna.
will.
I think Square Enix would run alongside. It would be like PlayStation Studios, and then you got all their studios, and then you have Bungie, who operates clearly very separately from PlayStation. And I think
Right.
Square would fit in that Bungie area, except for the fact before you, I see your mouth moving before you talk. My point is if they bought Square Enix, they would let them run in a silo like Bungie does, except with the caveat that they cannot release any RPGs on Xbox. I think that would be the only part of the agreement. I think they would be able to release any sort of, smaller games on Nintendo. I think they would be able to release, Dragon Quest 12 on Nintendo. The potential Chrono Trigger remake, which we've been hearing about for a year now from that Nvidia leak. Kingdom Hearts 3746 poop stains, whatever that is. I don't know. Like, all those games will release on Switch, right? I think the deal. I think the deal would. I
I
think the deal.
highly disagree with that.
I think the deal would be keep these off of Xbox, especially now after this hearing.
Oh yeah. I believe that they'll keep it off of Xbox, but I know Sony. Sony's gonna be greedy and they're gonna keep it off Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean that's probably maybe
Because
true,
the thing about it is,
but
I'm
like,
like, if we spend this money if they spend this money, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy will be the top selling games. Well, and Dragon Quest will be the top selling games for Sony, and that's going to push more sales for the PlayStation. But then what happens? Does it get reduced to only about 3 or 5 main titles? Do we not? I'm not like a phone stars or anything, but do we not see anything else out of Square Enix? Are we just going to get the 15,000 versions of Kingdom Heart, and then whatever's the next Final Fantasy and that universe, is Dragon Quest going to have like multiple games from the universe? Because like, if you cut them off from Bravely Default and all of these other small games, Triangle Strategy, the Field Chronicle, well, whatever, the small, even the 2D HD games. If you cut Nintendo off and only make Square Enix make these certain games, you're killing their creativity for money.
see, I don't
And
think
that
you're killing their
sucks.
creativity. I think whatever. I I think that Nintendo revenue is super important to them if while they're like not purchased by Sony, but I think
Mm-hmm.
whatever Sony purchased for them and invested that money in, I think whatever they invest in the Square Enix would make up for the loss of Nintendo sales, which granted is a lot. I mean, Octopath Traveler sold Octopath Traveler and Octopath Traveler 2 alone, right? And then like all these games that have all the same fonts, right?
Yeah.
Right, the font games, like those all sold really well on Switch as opposed to the consoles, right? But like, I think that I think you're still going to get those experiences on PlayStation, and I think PlayStation wants you to come to PlayStation to buy those games, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
PlayStation's goal. But also, I'm still the fact that Square Enix could run in a silo.
I don't think so. Yeah.
All
I
right.
think we'll continue to
Yeah,
disagree
well,
about that.
yeah, probably. Who knows? Maybe Square Enix will just stay out there forever and just make Sony games and never come to Xbox again, which is fine
I
because like
think.
I don't I don't need I don't need that. I have Persona. I have
Mhm.
Atlas's new game. What is it? Memento is coming. Uh,
Yeah.
Yakuza is finally over
And
on Xbox, which I'm
and
hopefully gonna
and
play
I'm
soon.
not and I'm not knocking Square or anything, but once they sold Tomb Raider, I'm like, okay, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest is pretty much. I mean, Kingdom Hearts is probably what I have, and whatever small games. But I'm like, a lot of those small games, I need them stay on Nintendo, because if you keep the Square Enix keep their stuff on PlayStation, I'm not going to be interested anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
can have all the pretty graphics, but it's not going to do anything for me.
I actually wish Microsoft would pony up some money after this ABK deal and like get Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal.
That's what we talked about.
Well, especially because Embracer is like they're losing money. Like they are in financial crisis and they are cutting limbs off left and right to try to stay afloat right now. And I actually think Microsoft probably would have purchased them both by now if this ABK deal had gone through. You know, man, the list of studios that Microsoft was eyeballing to purchase, incredible list of studios.
I have to look at it. I seen like there was a Tom and Jerry like kind of clip, and they had all of the studios, but I didn't even see. I just know that Sega and Square Enix was one from what
Bungie. They were looking at Bungie very seriously, and it's funny. I think Microsoft actually.
I'm shocked with Bungie.
I'm not. I mean, with the promise of Matter and Marathon and the continuation of Destiny and their mobile game that's coming out that's not out yet.
But
hold on. Like that's a lot of revenue coming in, but also because those games require so much content to keep going, it's a high financial burn rate. So they're going to be spending a lot of money before they're making a lot of money. And I think that's why Microsoft became timid a little bit, because that's such a huge long-term investment. Whereas like something like Call of Duty, like and Overwatch have their own kind of thing going on, right? It's very different than something like Destiny, right? It's very different.
What the thing I was going to say was that I thought Microsoft owned Bungie when it came to the Halo series.
They did,
and so did they break the contract and they wanted to go?
Bungie wanted to go independent because Microsoft was going to make them make Halo games forever. And so the deal was Microsoft let Bungie buy themselves out under the condition that they made 2 more Halo games, which were ODST and Reach. And so
that's how they became independent. Okay.
Yeah. They made enough money from, financially through Halo and DLC that they could buy themselves out. But the thing was that they couldn't keep the Halo IP either. So, which clearly,
because the thing about, because I think when Halo first came out and Bungie became the name, I thought Bungie was created within Microsoft.
No, Microsoft bought Bungie from Apple.
And see, that's the history that I didn't know.
Yeah,
that's why.
I mean, between Marathon and what was it? I want to say Mist, but it's not Mist. Mist is wrong.
It was Oni, I think, because Oni was on PlayStation 1. It was like that anime.
Oni was a Bungie third-person shooter developed, for PlayStation 2 and published by Rockstar, which is like an awful combination of whatever. But that was
they were still independent. That was like
they started that project before they were purchased.
Okay.
And then Halo was actually supposed to be the follow-up to Marathon on Apple computers. And then Microsoft bought Bungie, and it went from like the reason why the maps in Halo 1 are so big is because it was supposed to be an RTS. Halo started out as an RTS, and then they made it a third-person shooter because they were, trying to figure out when they were developing Oni, they were like developing third-person shooters, and then they pulled it in as a first-person shooter.
Okay.
And then added multiplayer.
Halo Wars.
Yeah, Halo Wars is Halo Wars is like a spiritual callback to
what Halo was going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
RIP Ensemble, by the way.
So yeah, that's why I didn't know that history. I knew of Marathon because people were talking about it because I had never heard of it, and then they would mention it was Bungie, and then I just like Oni came to mind, but I didn't know who developed it, and then when I read that it was Bungie, I'm like, okay, but when Bungie wasn't like a big name, probably in my world because I never knew those games that they made until Halo came out. And then when Halo became popular, Bungie's name came popular. So that's how I learned about Bungie is because of that.
Yeah, I mean, Halo very clearly put Bungie on the map. I mean nobody cared about Marathon really. So it was yeah, and then they got to keep the Marathon name, and now obviously it's becoming an extraction shooter and everything. So it's a very different game from old school Marathon. But
so quickly going back to the Square Enix thing, with did you believe they put that in their contract?
What?
That they run like kind of run almost like Bungie in the sense that they could put their games anywhere. As Sony bought Square Enix.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier to our earlier conversation. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
And it's funny because Final Fantasy 16 is only a 6-month exclusive according to the FTC filings. So,
and then it's supposed to go to just PC or everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, we don't know. Like that's the thing because the exclusivity for Final Fantasy 7 has been up for a year and a half, and it's still not on Xbox. So
it's just on PC.
I don't know. Maybe Square just doesn't. Maybe maybe Square just wants to focus their AAA efforts on one console. I mean, that's the whole argument too of during the FTC thing is like, yeah, developing for one console actually allows us to optimize the game and develop quicker because we don't have to account for 3 or 4 separate boxes. We just have to account for the one and make sure it runs really well on this one box. And then if we want to put it other places, we'll do it later.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah. Here we
sorry,
are.
boss. You
For
right.
what? For what?
About the Square Enix thing.
No, I know, but I mean, I still think Sony has some sort of thing to keep it off of Xbox. I really do think that, but
I just feel like with Jim Ryan and just Sony now, when they acquire companies, I just feel like they just want to keep stuff off of their competition and keep it on their own. Because even when they were talking about like Microsoft was talking about Minecraft, Sony didn't want to give them a development kit or anything. You know, I think they had to get a development kit because, well,
there's still no
they had to
there's still no PlayStation 5 optimized version of Minecraft. It's still the PlayStation 4
Microsoft. Oh, I was thinking of. You know what? I was thinking about MLB The Show because Nintendo would have had to give them a development kit. I mean, Sony and Microsoft had to give theirs.
Yeah, Sony has dev kits for both of those systems,
and that's because of the MLB.
Yeah, but also but also that I think that's a different situation though because the MLB publishes it on Xbox and Switch, whereas Sony publishes it on PlayStation. And I think when you're dealing with a license,
developing,
right? But when you're dealing with a license as big as the MLB, like you gotta listen to them, especially because that game probably makes them a ton of money, you know.
Right. So I think that's why, because I wonder what would Sony have done to be like, no, we don't want to do it. Here, have your MLB license back.
Yeah, you know, I mean that was. I mean, yeah, I mean the MLB probably said, "Hey, you're going to put this game on multiple platforms, or we're going to not renew our license with you." That's probably what they said, you know. And MLB The Show is such a big part of PlayStation.
Yeah,
it's huge. I mean, it's like one of those quiet games that sells a ton of copies, you know.
and don't nobody. That's why I always get weird about MLB The Show. I'm like, okay, y'all was hooting and hollering about this game. Where the heck is the sale numbers?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they own the. It's not. It's funny because it's not the what is it called? The place that reports all the sales numbers.
NPD.
Yeah, it's not called NPD anymore though. It's called something else now. But like when
They changed it.
Yeah, that's why we couldn't. That's why we couldn't find the numbers.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It starts with a C or something now. I forget what it's called. But like
probably consumer or something.
They only report PlayStation sales of that game because that's all Sony will give them.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Did not know that.
Yeah, and like over 70% of the game, like users on Xbox play it through Game Pass, I think. Something ridiculous like that. Maybe it's not that high, but that's what I was reading somewhere. So
yeah, because Microsoft, like, they really market that game for Game Pass. Like,
I know, which is hilarious.
Dude, I've never seen like a copy of that game physically in the stores. And I know Nintendo does do it at times. And then I think like after a month or a month and a half is over, they start advertising it. But even if you don't copy it in the store, like the physical version, good luck. Go ahead and buy the digital version and everything.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because like people bought I think the Switch version did good numbers when they first brought it. But I think we got it late before everybody else.
Yeah, but I no, we got it on the same day. It came out day and date. Switch version did.
I thought it came in April and Microsoft had it in March.
No, it came out day and date. I'm like 99% sure it came out day and date.
I'm thinking of last year's version.
I don't know.
Because they skipped that 1 year when they first made that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Switch version came, it was like that following. I think it was like 22.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, anything else? Kind of touched on some stuff. WayForest Game Boy Color Classic Extreme Sports comes to Switch this August. I wonder if that's the game that they were talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it. No, but
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it's 1:00. I'm ready for bed.
Well, everybody, that's gonna be it for Nintendo Pow Block. We really wanted to touch on the next gen stuff and kind of the stuff that was said reported at the FTC Microsoft court battle. Me and Corey was very spirited and fired up. I would say. I think we just I don't know if you agree with this, Corey, but I think we just both passionate to see what Nintendo is doing next and ready to see what they're going to give us. Because of course it's going to create a lot of discussion. But we're going to be back into theory land where the possibilities of stuff happening on their next gen console and what could come from it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with Switch though, like aside from just being excited for new Nintendo hardware, is like the security on the Switch has just been totally broken open, people emulating, I mean, even people we know are running Metroid Dread at 4K 60 frames a second on their whatever they're playing on, right? And it's like that's the thing now is like that would be the reason I think Nintendo wants to put out a new console above everything else, is just because the Switch is so broken open. And security, Nintendo's always been really good about security for the most part, and somehow like the launch Switch had that. Remember, they had that kernel in their code that just allowed everybody to break it open. So like really the only version of Switch that's you can break open is the launch switch, but like it's still like relatively easy to dump those ROMs onto a PC and manipulate them. And I mean, we're getting incredible versions of Breath of the Wild, though, right? I mean, the Wii U is super cracked open too, right? Like the version of Breath of the Wild everybody's emulating is the Wii U version, and it's running at like 8K, 120 frames a second with ray tracing and like updated textures and draw distance. It's it's incredible what the people have done with that game, but you know, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the next gen Nintendo. I just remember when we were doing the show when the Switch came out and how excited we were. And just the anticipation and hoping that it wasn't a flop like the Wii U. Even though we both love our Wii U's, and mine's still hooked up actually, for 3 reasons. But I'm excited for a new Nintendo console. I can't wait for people to actually start talking about it, and we can kind of speculate and look at the weird kind of, you know, bad photoshops of people making their versions, or like, you know.
We need to actually see. I gotta look up all the history of fan-made Nintendo systems.
I mean, remember
we should discuss them.
Remember when they said like that there was going to be a controller attached to a screen, and then somebody did the like that disc shaped, that oval shaped thing with the sticks in the middle and like the touch buttons, and everybody thought that was the console, and everybody was freaking out, and it turned out just to be like somebody had like 3D printed something and kind of did a really great job of like photoshopping it, but like it was still like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that didn't happen, because it was all based off that drawing, that patent drawing, right? So
yes.
I have 2 requests for Nintendo though. 1, get rid of the Joy-Cons, keep the controllers attached to the system. And 2, put some power in the dock so we can get some high frame rates and, you know, something. I almost wonder, like, I know we gotta go. It's getting super late and I'm super tired, but I almost wonder if their deal with NVIDIA, if NVIDIA is going to have some sort of like thing in the dock, like some sort of almost graphics card-esque style thing, or you know, something that will help boost. And then and like you look at the ROG Ally, I wonder if it's going to be something similar where like it works great on the go, but if you want more power, you can plug something into the bottom of it, and that would be obviously the dock for the Switch, to have some sort of boost in power and whatever fidelity and everything. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking because
because I was about to say, I wonder if there could be like some memory card to boost the system. If there's like a chip,
like the Saturn.
Yeah.
Or like the N64, the expansion pack.
Dude, what if you could do that with an SSD card? Like just pop it in like a memory chip.
I mean, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to bed. Okay. Get me out of here. Help.
Well, everybody, that's going to be it for this Nintendo Pow Block. I hope everybody had a great July 4th weekend. Hopefully you did have a great July 4th also. We will be back hopefully with a full show. Once again, thank you, Corey, for joining me on this discussion.
A full show? What do you call this? We went for almost 2 hours.
I mean, mini block. Still.
This really felt like an old school episode, though. Like,
yes. Getting straight to the discussion.
Yeah.
With that, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Nintendo Pow Block. Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
Goodbye.
Nintendo Pow Block is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. The show is hosted by me, Edward Varnell. My co-hosts are Corey Derrick and Cordy Yikes. You can find Corey at I am Corey in HD on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting the Boss Rush Podcast and Tower Casuals, the Destiny Podcast. You can find Cordy at Cordy_Dice on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me at That Richard Cole on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Nintendo Pow Block on all social media platforms at Pow Block Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Visit bossrush.net for more great content and patreon.com/bossrushmedia to learn how you can support this show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.